This is a transmission drain and fill and filter replacement on a 2008 Toyota Rav4. To start out, I'm going to remove the splash guard on the bottom with some 10mm bolts I'm pulling out and using a trim removal tool to take out the body clips on the bottom that are holding it in place. There's several of them. Many of them have a center push pin that needs to be retracted in order to release the clip. Once you have all those out, you should be able to pull off the whole assembly. Then we're going to drain the transmission pan on the right side, looking at it from the front. That drain plug will come out with a 10mm hex bit. Mine's on a 3/8 drive socket. Now I'm putting the plug back in so it doesn't drip on my head while I'm taking the pan off. I'm going to snug it up too in case I forget to snug it up after. I'm going to pull back this splash guard on the right side to gain access to these two hardest bolts in the back corner. I use the open end of a wrench to break the bolts free, and then a ratcheted end wrench helped me take them out quickly. Started with the two hardest ones. All the other ones come out nice and easy. Still quite a bit of fluid that doesn't come out in just a simple drain with the plug. So you get a little more out when you remove the pan. These 10mm long bolts hold the filter assembly in place. You want to be sure and remove the old O-ring from the valve body. And then I'm using a little bit of ATF transmission fluid to lubricate the new O-ring on the new filter. And then putting those 10mm bolts back in. I'm not using any power tools here. I have steel bolts and they're going into an aluminum body, and I don't want to pull out the threads, so I'm just hand tightening these. And not super tight at all. The torque spec's only 8 foot-pounds, or about 96 inch-pounds, which isn't very tight at all. We don't want to go crazy here. Next, I'm using a parts washer solvent tank to clean my pan. Some brake clean or soap and water would do just fine as well. I'm scrubbing it up, and you can see the magnets. You can inspect those and see how to kind of check the health of your transmission. And I'm took those magnets out, wiping out the pan, and anywhere I didn't clean it up quite good enough, I'm just gonna hit with some brake clean, and that evaporates quickly and dissolves oils really well. Then I'm cleaning off the magnets and putting those back in place next to the dimples in the transmission pan, and then the transmission pan bolts came with thread locker from the factory, so I'm refreshing that with some Permatex Blue medium strength thread locker. And then I'm going to lay the new gasket in place and thread some bolts through to kind of hold it in place as I lift it up into position. And the bolts that I'm poking through are ones that I'm hoping will have easy access. Once I put it in place, and I'll be able to kind of have access to them with my fingers or with my driver and easily be able to put them in. This 3/8 drive speed handle or speed wrench is really handy for putting in a lot of bolts by hand quickly. These back two, again, they're trouble, so I was using a driver to kind of hold them in place while I got the thread started delicately with the wrench, and then I was able to snug them up good after that. Those ones you're not able to get a torque wrench on. but all the others you can. You're looking at 67 inch-pounds, and what you feel is equivalent on these back two with your wrench. Drain pan, I did remember to tighten that up, 35 foot-pounds on that. And then time to check the fluid. On the stick, it tells you that you need Toyota WS ATF for this transmission. I'm cleaning up the old dirty funnel I have. It's my one with the narrowest neck to go into the fill tube. And then here I got some Valvoline Max Life full synthetic Toyota WS equivalent fluid. And a drain and fill takes 3.8 quarts. With that filter replacement, I imagine it'll take just a little bit more than that. And then to verify the level, you need to start the vehicle and check the fluid level with it running. So make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. Get your foot on the brake and cycle it through the gears, couple seconds in each position to fill those circuits up that may have drained out when you dumped the fluid. And then with the engine still running, you go out, wipe off the dipstick, stick it back in there, and then you're going to look for the dry spot, which can be kind of tricky when you have fluid in that fill tube. So you have to sometimes flip the stick over and do whatever you can to find the dry spot. But my dry spot started here. That's where the fluid in the pan did not reach up on the stick. Everything else is completely wet below that. So I'm going to add a little bit more fluid to bring it up. Then I'm going to check it again, dry it, and then again look for the dry spot. So those lower hashes are the cold minimum range, and the top marks are the hot maximum range. So mine is right there on the lower end, which is good for the transmission temperature that I'm at. It's not a warm transmission right now, so I feel good about the level. Turning it off and putting the splash shield back on. I broke a few clips removing the splash shield, so I'm using some universal 8 and 10 millimeter clips, body clips, to fill the holes where I'm missing clips, and that worked just fine to hold the shield up in place. Got to line up all the different splash shields, get them in correctly. Here I'm checking for leaks. I forgot to do this when I had the shield down, but it looks clean and dry, so I feel comfortable about being done with it. Appreciate you watching, and hope you like and subscribe.